Food is a basic necessity of life. We need food to survive. 1.2 billion people on this planet suffer from hunger. The exact same amount, 1.2, also suffer from obesity. In the United Kingdom, 30 to 40% of all food is never consumed, never eaten. $38 billion of food is thrown away each year in the United States alone. In the US, 40 to 50% of food for harvest never gets eaten, and more than 1/3 of the world's grain is sold not to human beings, but to cows. As many as 1/3 of the people on our planet go hungry on a daily basis. In a time span of 10 minutes. Okay, so I've been talking to you for a total of 10 minutes now. In a time span of 10 minutes, if we were to set our watch, 300 people around the world who are sick and weakened from hunger will die. This amounts to 40,000 people a day and 15 million people a year. That's huge. Despite the fact that slavery is illegal, 40 million people, or 7% of the world's population, live in conditions of slavery. 100 million children of low-income countries around the world are forced to sell sex, beg, steal, or work for drug gangs to provide income for their families. Okay, all this is fine and dandy. We tend to look at poverty, we tend to look at inequality, we tend to look at global inequality as someone else's problem, something that happens elsewhere, other places in the world. Let's look at our own backyard. What's happening here in Canada? What does the situation look like in our own country? Almost half of all income in Canadian society is held by 20% of individuals and families. The Thompson family has an estimated wealth of $25.3 billion. In Canada, the poorest 10% of the population earn 26% of income. The wealthiest 1% earn 25% of income. We have a huge income disparity in our country. There is less income inequality in 22 other countries around the world. Canada ranks 23rd, tied with Tajikistan. The other thing that we know about our own society is that poverty is on the rise. Over the past 10 years, poverty and homelessness have increased for all groups by around 2 to 3 percentage points. 1 in 6 Canadian children are poor, which means we have a poverty rate of around 15%. 770,000 people per month use food banks in Canada. 40% of these people are children. In Canada, women earn on average 65% of what men earn. What about our Aboriginal people? Many people claim that Aboriginal issues are Canada's most highest disgrace. In fact, Senator Romeo Dallaire in the Ottawa Citizen in 2007 declared that Canada's treatment of its Aboriginal children is a total national disgrace. I want to read to you some statistics about our Aboriginal population. They're important. Aboriginal people have a standard of life and a quality of life that is inferior to any other Canadian ethnic group. Their life expectancy is 10 years that less of non-Aboriginals, and they have a 50% greater chance of dying before the age of 65. The suicide rate of 15 to 24-year-olds is 7 times higher than the national average. Aboriginal people are 9 times more likely to contract infectious diseases, 4 times more likely to suffer from diseases of the nervous system, and twice as likely to experience complications during pregnancy. The victimization rate for Aboriginals is disproportionately higher than for Canadians in general. According to a national survey, 35% of Aboriginal people reported being victims of a crime compared to 26% of non-Aboriginal people. Aboriginal people are 3 times more likely to be victims of violent crimes compared to non-Aboriginal people. According to a study of incarceration statistics of Aboriginal sex offenders, they are responsible for 20 to 25% of all 600,000 sexual offenses that occurred in Canada last year. The great majority of these are against Aboriginal women and children. Only 20% of Aboriginal people complete high school as opposed to 75% of the greater population. Alcoholism is rampant and many Aboriginal families disintegrate. In fact, 20% of Aboriginal children live in foster or substitute homes, in contrast to 2% of other non-Aboriginal children. Another thing that I don't have up here, but I wanted to talk to you a bit about is what about the environment? Canada was the second worst country in the world in terms of carbon emissions per capita. And according to Harper, how many people know what the Kyoto Protocol is? And what is it? Dennis?
It's a joke.
Tell me what it is. Someone give me a definition.
It's a worldview about what we should, as citizens of the global community, participate in lowering the
Carbon emissions. Right? And according to Harper, the Kyoto Protocol is a socialist scheme to quote-unquote suck money out of wealth-producing nations. Canadian mining companies or corporations have been highly criticized internationally for their association with human rights abuses, environmental destruction, and health damage. There's not yet any legislation in Canada to deregulate actions abroad, and even within Canada, mining corporations continue to dump toxic waste into our lakes. What I want to know now is how many people knew all of those things that I've just presented to you. I have just given you a lot of statistics. How many people in the room were aware of all of them? Of course you were, Dennis. Anybody else besides Dennis? Good. Okay, so we do have a few people who are very aware, and most of us are not. What's the connection between global citizenship and awareness? Why is it important to be aware of what's happening in our global world?
So we have to understand what's happening.
Great. Okay, awareness creates understanding. Understanding creates compassion. It's not possible to be compassionate unless we understand what's happening. Why else? Love it. Okay, you can't change what you don't know. We don't have an imagination, a capacity for change unless we understand what's happening. Any other reasons? Great. Okay, so what I want to talk to you about now is, many of us, Dennis is the exception, lack awareness to the lives of our fellow citizens. And most of us didn't have large awareness of all the things that I just told you about. And why is that? Why don't we know how many people are dying around the world? Why don't we know world hunger statistics? Okay, what do you think? Good, who's they? Okay, who controls the information that we have?
corporate media.
The corporate media, right? And they have the vested interest in having us understand the world from a certain perspective. One, the information is not readily available. You can find out this stuff. You can look on some great alternative websites such as socialissues.com, Media Lens. It's there, it's available. But it's not front page news.